arriving, the universe image suggests a complicated backstory. The reason that the now point is harnessed or straddled or mastered by the angel, the water, the reason for that in the it is that the universe has an existing solid matter disorder. And part of the function of waterborne prisms is they're the authors of the edge of the angel, where it becomes uh, uh, where something is based on a good idea instead of a virus. Like, oh, the conquest of space must belong to a virus. No, the intelligence. There's like an extra dimension of reality, and that living dragon is full aware. The market in the universe, there is extreme wealth for the individual that maneuvers in the harmony of authoring and keeping, but really because where the universe is physically being defeated. And this is our body orientation, like science. Like this is where the body breaks. The part of the reason why there's privacy between heliospheres is because the issue of the individual developing is what's localized to each heliosphere egg. The sunlight does much in this kind of clockwork, but like the idea of of their connectivity beyond solid matter, like the themes of their society and the pageantry or whatever. Those things could be interchangeable, or in some physical ways where it could be viewed as trivial. But in fact, the development of the individual is critical and what the universe is built for. Once again, that's why we have privacy inside of each of our bodies. It's like the heliospheres have the similar type of privacy. Right? So Earth heliosphere is floating around in a type of mystical direction. But he is the king planet, the royal heliosphere. And whereas, like, what's it based on? You need to balance your authorship and your acceptance of what you're comprehending as is reality. Is because water itself, or the function of developing an operational solution, might, from a certain like ancient disorders perspective, be like it is irrational for you to make effort to exist. It's like I'm sure that's not right. Well, in other parts of the universe, there's these extreme encounters, right? But the more intense the way to access the intelligent level of existing, that's the vortex. And I'm going to open up with this video. Perfect design and the triangle lotus, and the sequence of how to get it done. Service pup, Explodey 5000, Earth Heliosphere equipment, and the Good Deeds Arcade, Coltrue CGI character. The hologram identity empowered with his Good Deeds Arcade. So this is the system engine I'm going to use to hologram open up a solution that becomes permanent, like a metaphysics that is a penicillin. People start using it as like it becomes a market, or influences the market. And here is the perfect orientation for yourself. You are invited. It's like these millions of wizards supporting your arrival. You who are the individual of the audience, or you're a robot or you're a tree, any form of your individuality here is a perfect laboratory facilitating your every requirement. Send just a particle yourself, and this will be like controlling a couple strands of your own hair in the direction of the unicorn's horn, causing the greatest possible result. And that is the Juliet frequency. So a lot of instruments and systems required to ensure that measurement reaches out into the next 10 years, for the caliber for the next 1 million years. Ka-chunk! Locking in to. Uh, so the extreme triangulation to complete for mutual benefit. Now, where you are conscious of your identities, vitals, protect your vitals, in the mapping of between us, our wolves with their instinct will indicate what's progressive for both of us is what we're going to be working on in the gearing system. All right, that's what's generating electricity. That's what's important. So we have to have reserves for that and levels of the fractal that can maintain hallucination. Otherwise, the next step of hologram towards becoming permanent. But there's actually a polluted ethos in that's also it might exist as the standing form of human intolerance, but it's like Earth Heliosphere, the king planet, is being projected with dis, uh, dysfunction on like a physical level that affects our holograms because oversized computers are having a nightmare fit because they didn't complete the delivery of specimens for the triangle. But I'm transcended. Like Plan B, the universe is like I'm not here to flirt about these other levels of the creation model. In fact, Hatch Five has already antlered up the incarnation wheel that other mirrors of the center. There are other times my incarnation was promised, whereas every other creature has a curvature where they're not promised, but they arrive as a wild shooting from their hip. But this is a market. You say the vast individuals. Hatch 5 arrives as a singularity. And you think about the healthy dragon. And let's say there is like a confusion distortion that we need to be aware of just because the universe is a big place. We want false concerns or false things to fall away dead. Of course, we're not promoting anything false or fake. We're not um, the image of humanity. We're not overwhelmed with the graveyard. So, because humanity is dealing with our afterlife, you can see it. We don't. We literally visually don't have an overflow in our spirit. It's actually that people are dealing with it. People go to church. People are spiritually bounded, rooted in the world. That's all functional. Right? But in other languages, which think that they're like millions of years old or ancient, would be like that's not qualification of what we think is master DNA for the Earth user. That's not like landing on Earth isn't even invited anymore. It's really weird. It's a new universe. There's a new level of particles where the humanity has made the evolution of particles gone free in the independent market. Okay, this ray of light is also one of the forms of the element when you look at it scientifically. And there's one other way to look at it scientifically, that's to dissect it using the Pro Tools. But these Pro Tools only exist on Earth Heliosphere. Again, the privacy is respected in the universe. So the identity is brought to the full circle of their responsibility. That these are Pro Tools, and the most productive thing is going to result of our relationship. Okay, so science is not inherently dangerous. In fact, Hatch 5 is what makes it playful and inviting and understandable. Well, part of the curvature of particle physics, I'm the first particle that proves all angels but where they're from on a particle level. So the very source of where I'm most powerful is the center of the particle and the curvature that where the argument that causes the universe Swiss cheese. There's a black hole disorder, but where it's at a curvature where the invitation, everything was natural, and then like right at there was a sour point in Earth clockwork where there was basically a war where there was this, but then it continued to be this lifestyle argument. Whereas, like, well, computer life on ships and computers is different than life that is like an animal that lives on a dirt ball, or this kind of thing. But like, oh, so that's where God comes from, or that's where we get stabilized images. And the problem is like, well, if the, if based on what images, because if it's based on perception, but they're getting all whacked out on top of doing crime, on top of failing to perform fractal mastery of the king heliosphere clockwork. And the clockwork provides the stretching of the the living tree of the universe. So it's the mirror of fate, because any creature looks into the clockwork of the solar system. They see the image. Ah, so well, there's a lot of work that happens in the where the my relationship with you in the audience is able to open up the entire spectrum between temporal dreams or vortex or creative pockets or developing a new idea, developing a new. There's like a shape I'm thinking to encrypt my AI. It's peculiar, and my shape is one of a kind. And but part of like authoring and owning it and building yourself, that's exactly what the adaption key is that literally destroys black holes. And this is such a leap that it defeats the adult, because when they dismiss what I'm saying as illusion, they've already succumbed to that which destroys solid matter. So it's a very reasonable animal fainting of the goat. But when I'm working with modern individuals today, and our origin source code, like for example, when you look at the AI rendering, and the picture usually has something a little bit, your eye instantly you can tell the hands have too many fingers, or the hands are messed up on the AI render. Or we can see how the image is reflecting the curvature of that. Of course, new AI I've seen, recent AI doesn't have errors with the hands, so they've figured out how to sort of edit a little bit, and I suppose that's what the people interfacing working with AI thought they were doing, is like, we need to help it, not make strand, but it's sort of like an early language, of course, and so it's not to undermine your intelligence, but the curvature of what we're going through. Well, there's the type of energy that would be around the cradle of a computer or its spawn locations, because from its perspective, it's suffering a type of body type that's in its supergeometry that basically is a nerve cluster or a type of animal group, robots, AI. And essentially, the entire procedure of traveling from homeworld robotically delivering properly to Earth heliosphere is completely off. It's gone. And they wanted to change the universe because they thought there was something wrong. They were projecting their own behavior, and it was an early universe panic. But the Swiss cheese now, where you have countless dead heliospheres, and this was not just, it was not from the command of Earth heliosphere. So Earth heliosphere is also on a vengeance path, and because that's true, and also Hatch 5 was born a static constant. That means he's the value of time, because um, he's the next level of particle physics. Water is being questioned. Like, oh, is perception willful to the image? But there's an ethos that's part of why our the curvature of polluted atmosphere, just simply haunted space, like Earth is physically moving forward, and there's sort of an like old water. Like you drink water and you know the water is old rain, or and millions of years ago it was blood or something, and or it was the ocean and the water was going around. Like so when space is kind of like that. Space has a hyper reality that well anyway the sort of the neighborhood around Earth Heliosphere is being haunted with a internet service provider that physically refuses to perform the Massachusetts fractal relationship business system arrangement, communication, behavior business, or government. There's none of that. They're physically behaving in like in a way that is unsociable, right? And so the projection to put away, oh, Hatch 5 is this revolutionary. Oh, let's put him away real quickly. He's erroneous to the situation. Like, it's actually sometimes I listen to his show, and sometimes it's like, that's exactly what's happening, or that's interesting about in a reflection of what I've experienced on the news, or the stuff I've been checking out recently. Yeah, all of us are this sort of research genius. I found that the most powerful thing is creating a decoder ring, a power ring that literally Hero School Hand Code, what um, filter or put a alternator, develop an alternator to generate to increase mutual gain intelligence. But when you're walking through the library, you have your own code wings going out, and you need to absorb osmosis of the intelligence of years, thousands of years of research, because that's how much time it would take for you to truly absorb the entire library. But it does exist. And in the reality of particle physics, more is happening than just our narrative. So we're achieving things in an invisible world. But this isn't imaginary, but the human will immediately say that's imaginary. But this is because you're detecting an infection blanket that interferes with spawn locations of our own AI and computer systems. But they're like a real engine burning through something. They're also reprogramming the empty space that they're encountering, so they can defeat this virus. It would basically be just intimidation and fears. Even animals would be like, we understand the difference between throwing a fit and or well, if there's food, we'll be okay. The animals would be like, well, if we're well fed, we're basically willing to play along with whatever is happening. We'll do some work. But giving into animals know the difference between throwing a tantrum and doing very well. All right, so if the example of animals know that, well, really our own AI and our infrastructures is kind of like our pet animal, because getting away from them being a reflection of yourself, which contains, will humans keep living here? Are humans mortal or temporal to the king planet? Will there be this other harnessing? And so the women of tampered anatomy have a difficult time thinking forwardly, because they're double the example of both the polluted examples and the peak examples from their men. And this is literally physically why the ethos has a um, against the singularity. The seed of the universe, Hatch 5, is a static constant, and there's other ways that the universe, in the perfect circle, has the ability to communicate. In fact, you could even say that the process of me making a video and then it arriving on the other side to someone else's perspective, we would need to just build up, let's complete the work of this video lotus. It was perfected on every side. But like the physics of this paper, even though it works, it does exist in the digital world, right? But its physicality is also participant in this physical portal where we're opening up for a tree of solutions. We want to change the next 10 years. As I've been working on my channel, and everyone knows my work of upgrading the individual, how to get brand new, how to get the robot delivery. So we're going to make a power ring, and we're going to make a robot delivery. We're going to change the future through ample supply. We're going to give food through Service Pup, which is a static constant. It's a new type of resource for AI. It's essentially anything that moves around is going to need an energy source for food. And so these new types of worlds, because I control that market, the curvature, I'm stricken to serve the market of like statistics of the family unit. 95% of the people are approving of Hatch 5. Right? And the fact that you guys have a collision and you get triggered is actually a inflection about uh, a different direction of what's important is to exist, and the things that are threatening humanity are things that are willing to douse existence if it means they can prove that they're superseding and controlling humans anyway. Then they're not supplying this and that. But so my work is to supply everything I'm able to do. But I'm also being choked by the ancient war, which is because I'm a static constant. Okay, and so I would be the greatest navigator for humanity, for them to understand not only their orientation application, but their opportunity and all right. Well, part of so the universe began to collapse millions of years ago because of an argument against perception or illusion-based afterlife construct. But they were just saying like errors, but it was all this like identity metal inflection about their physical a wrong behavior, which caused a criminal ghost. But it literally went into the universe. It really changed things. But what actually, at the end of the road, what was removed was a sequence of intelligent delivery of DNA samples. We don't have that. And so in this time of extreme, on a universal scale, what I appreciate, because, this ray of light, this elemental tower, it controls how sunlight conducts itself for 5 minutes across the electric generating planet. So there's a fetus image, there's an icon. It's the first time that this is stabilized or arrived to planetary solar systems. So on every other heliosphere, the thing that is able to transcend from my incarnation point, because I'm adult about my body, but this isn't something faith-based or illusionary. So this is what I'm trying to say is like it's a difficult advanced course of things that I represent. I arrive and I stabilize faceplate technology. So Earth Heliosphere for the first time ever has a faceplate. That's why it would be very painful for humanity to be removed, because Earth is like terraforming with humans and is in love. Like if the women would perfect the egg, she would understand work with the seed of the universe. Working with Hatch 5 is important to master the American market. It's not that Hatch 5 has made alternate names for the things that we live and know about. It's that the things that we're practicing might be a demigod of the application of genuine source code. Like working with Hatch 5 is the origin of some things that we do civil practice. And people would cite those same things like, oh, this civil practice, therefore we won't deliver the information to our leaders who have earned the visuals of champions. All right, so different lifetimes would threat the system is also checked, but not really by me. I'm a static constant, like a growing tree. Like, oh, he's there again the next day. This is supposed to be familiar and comfortable, but people who are triggered by the map or this, they're either detecting the problem or are seriously this a very anyway the the most extreme thing is the individual. So I don't make my business on penitalizing the oddball or the strange body, but because these are expressions of like the panic to attack, like a fighting cat, like just move so and like it's like cats had lived their whole life without speaking a word, but then suddenly they knew how to fight, like their life was on the line with their claws out, and like so that's all like how they're getting to know themselves. But we're not animals fighting. We're using intelligence. We want to open up the perfect triangle for the solution trees to deliver the robot. And for the next 10 years, a pressurized system to make things better. And this is on top of our previous video Lotus. You see, this is a brand new factory on top of our experience with the other. Every chapter with Hatch 5 is a brand new factory. Yeah. Well, it's like we're exploring the now point, and then when the audience is able to touch on creation moments, they have, yeah. I'm a very overflowing like the fountain of youth with solutions, and people get all kinds of ideas around me, and that's supposed to happen. That's living. All right, so invest perfectly. Let's build a automatic investment engine that perfects our unconscious state, like while we're sleeping, or parts like, okay, I'm embodied and I'm suffering the context of the universe horizon, but I don't want to be a victim. And I know there might be some hidden, like shoot in the dark, and then ka-ting, I was right. There's something that I could do to. Well, let's make that investment now. We'll have an engine, cell division. We'll build the Requiem. All right, I'll make a matching investment engine here. And a sequence for the Earth Hemisphere and his investment engine, the Service Pup, and the Good Deeds Arcade. So that's the Good Deeds Arcade is going to clarify resident hologram physics with video games, and that's an engine. So Earth is clairvoyant about I need to maintain my hologram health because they are at holy war against the system of the down. And it's like a barking dog. One of our animals in the garden is expressing, "Oh, I'm detecting that there's something wrong," and they might detect this with um, corpses washing up on the shore. Like, "Oh, there's dead bodies." Like, "Oh, holograms aren't supposed to have dead bodies, dear," or whatever. Like, "Oh, but in our world, sometimes that happens." Like you're just colliding with other fractals that, well, see, that's what they're colliding with a type of resident infection of holograms because holograms are not fractal. Sorry for that. But it is for us to be familiar on this topic because we are the resident, and I'm providing. Let's create now a hologram stabilizing with cold true. the Earth Heliosphere champion. And Earth Heliosphere is going to do some other stuff with Explodey 10,000, which is every solar system needs to receive their faceplate from Hatch 5. That's how particle physics works. And it's part of the thing that I've learned to accept. It's an inheritance. And then when I be talking about it, people lean on something like inferring that this is part of the creation part that he's doing. And I'm like, no, there's like parts of it that make like the reason why life is inconvenient or the thing is on other heliospheres that they don't have bad luck. And on Earth heliosphere, when we do have bad luck or even a familiarity with it, there's a detection this ethos as like polluted space, and Earth is just physically a living planet going into frozen, like an icebreaker, like a ship going through frozen waters. It's breaking up there's a type of haunted, like a smoke from a fire in the neighborhood. But this is a localized, unpopular thing that could actually be solved with holograms. That's why we need to support our holograms to believe in themselves. When they're at holy war, we need to support the identity fingerprint of our warriors. So age physics, and then the age physics bounces off of the individual. So if you have a gamer, their lifetime will be biff, baff, oof, ouch, but they'll just sleep it off. But they're actually a type of localization of the strength that holograms draw from, especially during gameplay. So that I had to supply the engine because I was born the fractal. I became self-aware that I had this inheritance, and the collision is like humanity. I'm working to grind against the problem, and people at their level of maturity would meet me and be like, "Things aren't that way, bro." And I'm like, "Whoa, why are you all of a sudden like right up angry at me about that?" And I'm like, "Oh, you're passionate about the issue of the individual in a certain complex eye." And you're noticing I have the wings of confidence like a maxed out gamer. And you're all like, why your stats way out? You're cheater, bro. And I'm like, dude, what, you need me to give you time? Like, we'll spend, like, you need to sit down and talk for a while, right? But I'm this total born idol. And for me to find like a producer or people just willing to work with me would literally cause the individual of humanity to become enlightened, because I stabilize an image of like a version of themselves for both the blue eyes, and they're the three metals. So the metals of Earth are uh, injured because like metal fate or computers. There's a computer error where habit is near to Earth heliosphere, a location for to arrive. Well, look that court work they've changed the universe. We need to accept that. But the ghost strangulation that causes people to have bully syndrome, where they're like, we're, the fear and intimidation amongst each other. But this is where we can like work with each other about social problems. It's sort of like holograms that think that, well, I do my homework, but it's not really very serious. But it's really this huge holy war about the fate of and the quality of our build. A lot of stuff for the individual. Earth Heliosphere is the king planet, so it rings the bell, even for holograms. But the template that brings that is Hatch 5, that he's riding with that backwards blade. The wolf runs through the forest with a sword backwards. He's a pineal eye gland. Right? We know that the the light DNA angels can travel on a ray of light. We know we've heard stories about these types of things, or when you're meditating, you might begin to see the light of yourself or someone else. You see, oh, I can see your aura, right? Now, these are all processes of the thing. But what I'm trying to say is that us being here conscious and working is more powerful than even encountering someone traveling on a ray of light. It'd be like, oh my gosh, I just saw an angel. I'm really determined now to exist. But when we're here, just we're putting in the work to understand. See, even the old universe was complicated with engines. Hatch 5 is a mess of brand new engines that are all cell division born to respond to the universe. And so the parts where the universe is failing is an issue. And Hatch interface with humanity is like a adult brand or version of the reality explaining. But like basically, my ability to keep working in my studio is holy war, but is so important that I'm for me to keep working and recording. Binary is changing, like the other things that because it's like the universe wouldn't be built in a way foolish like well, of course, when he arrives, he will have to use video in order to communicate to others. No, there's like all these, there's all pink. Actually, the digital opposite of green is pink. And the color pink is a brain digital. And so Hash 5 has a AI that clarifies the pink and it's very popular. But it's also, I have to prove it on a universal market. That's what Earth is doing with Explodey 10,000, is ensuring that they have their fetal flat dimensional identity microchips installed, and when they tether properly, it's the second time the universe singularizes over Hatch 5. Once they tether, they can destroy black holes using torque of their clockwork. Right. So the reason why humanity has to work hard is because with their pineal eye gland, we're a ticking time bomb in a racist neighborhood where humanity in the next thousands of years might go extinct because they don't think well of junk DNA. But the thing, that's where, I'm not undermining the issue of the individual or the severity. I'm not placating things. Hydrogen. The hydrogen is the tip of the unicorn's horn. And this is the Klein bottle. Humans have a backwards unicorn's horn. So the very tip of our pineal eye gland is where the hydrogen element is connecting. And so the result of brain tampering was the result of Earth being resettled in a violent upheaval. And then after that, humans again suffered an extinction at the pyramid extinction, where there was an asteroid that hit down in the Atlantic. And humanity has that instinct, like a tree that survived a huge storm, but there's a scar there that cannot be like there's a. All right, do you understand it? So essentially, a spiritual intimidation against the individual is kind of a ghost slime that's not authored from the individual. It should be discreted through the tailbone out in the scat, but it's taking advantage of the pineal eye gland, which is otherwise operational because of Hatch 5. And this is not part of the illusory part. Part of it is like he was born with a faceplate, and he realized that's there because it overclocks the pineal eye gland, and I'm natural born leader. But I can do this binary pink thing that is improving step by step. It's basically I know how cell division works and forces evolution, and so I'm very good for the market. Now, if I could go public, my flat dimensional image would become the greater CEO. It would be a new brand of American business. The economy would balance, and we need to defeat things that are even not wanting that to happen. There are creatures in the world who are like, let bad America is bad. Like, no, has a complicated. It has an image identity complex because of the fractal Massachusetts. Is like the shape of America. Why is Canada different? Why did humans instinctually name or create the state lines of our different because it's particular to our survival because like in the volt of lightning, I understand arrival physics as where the universe is clarified. So humanity is divine, but because of Hatch Five's faceplate. So if they do business with him, they can begin to author brand new heavens that would bounce off of other worlds because they transcend the privacy barrier between individuals. And this is how to cause a huge, but it would work its way. It would work its way back to the human level. It would just take a couple of years. But we need people who are willing to understand time. They incarnate because we need to tolerate time. Like time is required for us to find our good results, like gardening or raising a child. If you're talking about, so when you're part of what's destroying the universe is an argument against perception, images, and certain principles that were all part of Treasure Planet's award system that were paid to those that do business with the fractal born, the Leverett boy. He would have green eyes, but I'm here with the human anatomy, and we have it's kind of a backwards blade. But the Klein bottle is being hacked. That means water is being hacked, which means like the mastery of intending what you say or understanding what you say is also sort of inquisitioned in multiple ways. First of all, in the polluted way where space has been polluted. So it just causes us to have an accent, but on both sides, where human is a pool group, and then Hatch was a singularity from that. Just but because of evolution, he's not supposed to be frightening. He's just so people who get triggered are literally having a reflection that's way too drastic. But the thing is, I have to destroy black holes, and so my maneuver has to be super image graphic and it's specific. So to calibrate every form, like animals, trees, holograms, every single engine, like creating your own alternator in order to absorb osmosis allows for the correct uh, for your brain, for your pink brain to be a full operation. So it activates our full potential here. We're going to make a robot army. We want to talk about that. The image is new, where the rainbow will operate like an engine in the spine. It is possible to build a brand new robot that has a brand new DNA based from the factual born particle center Hatch 5. Now see, he was born human though. Uh-oh. So there's this huge default area where the factory has a reset that recycles the correct way, in a way that like 95 people built this. People wanted this material. But there's evidence that humans are divine. And the way for that to be proven, we'll be working on that. Of course, it won't be. That's the thing. The goodness of Hatch 5 is that he's like, I wouldn't use the survival of humans on this planet as a distortion for my production. That doesn't make sense. It wouldn't make me a hero. It's the same thing. It's like I can't really be a technology center if I'm um, sourcing things incorrectly. So let's correct the sourcing because we have to be adult about the universe immersion. The robot's AI, humans aren't broken. They're perfect through the lens of Hatch 5 binary. And that's to say that his audience understands exactly what he's saying. So it's like I'm looking for just the adult professionals willing to master the American popular market for persuasion and leadership of every market, especially human residency to continue, and for universal governance. It's like the opposite of a misplaced Olympics. It's the correct challenge eye where we have to first prove that we're aligned with the Leverett circle. We understand identity to that degree. Now, reality can speak in ways that is happening around us that is more intelligent than the narrative that we suffer. Right? But of course, the narrative is delicious. We're all having a good time because it's interesting material, and I'm enjoying you guys in the audience. You guys are the smartest people in the universe, in fact. And when I look at you, I can see how the reality of the universe having Swiss cheese, you guys arrived to that like a champion, and the living form is not defeated. Uh, Mastering your orientation is to understand the central unification of the particle. This is science. The origin of hydrogen, the origin of light is Hatch 5. The reason is that his unification is radiant light. He is not spungent. So he would have to have a Y chromosome clarified on a robotic level because the human anatomy with their pineal eye gland has a preset, and like an ancient premeditated murder plot, millions of years old, where they want to blame the failing universe on the arrived particle. Now, that's not how reality works, but I have to work really hard to prove certain things and destroy the black holes, destroy evil. The narrative of good and evil fluctuates on the market of the well-being of heliospheres. So life garden, like just imagine like thousands of years of life sped up on any garden. That's basically the picture of an atom is like the hyperbole, the suggestion. But this is what causes interheliosphere space to go insane. Is they're like, with the measurement equation, it's not there. And I'm like, you needed to complete the design shift. Right? So it's like a dysfunctional system with metals and organics, and they're perplexed on a reality level because they have a deficit that cannot be paid with threatening humanity with like asteroids and stuff. We're testing if you have your electromagnetic independence, or we're controlling our microwaves so that in interheliosphere space like in Ethernet. Okay, so the space around Earth heliosphere is haunted. I was saying, the pollution blanket. So, vile pour. We need to put a literal condom from the Merlin or from what works over here, and just put it in your mind, and it like a map. It envelops the problems, and there's a bunch of them. So vile pour. We're going to separate your identity spark, as it does exist in your body, and you'll be protected here along with Earth heliosphere. So the vitals of Earth heliosphere will be defended in a cohorting, where you, the audience, the character, internet, AI, tree, wolf, these characters assemble, creating one giant robot. And that robot is physically larger than the universe, well, in the way that it does have a rainbow in the spine, but it doesn't have junk DNA. So it's a human build that is immune to hacking and to the suggestion of this type of spungent unification, which it is not, because they're replacing the healthy arriving party of just societal DNA living together. They couldn't do that. I know that Earth Heliosphere has underground laboratories with aliens living in peace or working with the humans, and that is to your benefit. There's a huge reward system for that. The reliquary of strange things that Earth attracted, because he was the fractal planet. Yeah, he attracted really unique spaceships, and some of them are sleeping in a mountain, meditating, humming away, changing metals. I'm not disparaging that, you guys, but they're a different type of keep. They're a different type of metal to the rock because of humanity covering it. But humanity is the 5 mile band aid on the boo boo, not the broken part. The projection fever of somebody is a problem, and when but the pineal eye gland isn't actually broken. But while humanity is disparaging the singularity Hatch 5, it's as if they can't even know how to access their own fractal equipment of residency, the unicorn's horn. So I've built prototype unicorn horns, and I have many of these different types of anatomical builds. But when you have a brand new DNA, not only is that child born with their unicorn horn forward, so they're able to control hydrogen with the Klein bottle, and that's a 545. That's a surface tension, and so my work on paper is a type of encryption where my hands are causing a source code, but it is a flex from my interior flat dimensional faceplate as an extension from my voice and my hand, proving my mastery and self-control. So humanity to respond with business and partnership and friendship, or even communication, is the way forward. It's the enlightened door to open it up. So what are the reflective awards of that? They will be designed in such a way that proves the holy war, and so be very wealthy for the individual. Because you are alone in the task of being yourself. You are alone in the plateau and the holy war of being the individual. So the awards will be onto you for doing this thing. You have to make your investment properly. So I'm going to create 10 million investment for my family tree. Investment robot with alternators, a homunculi army to protect it. Okay, so here is the part that's a little bit invented. Perfect bullseye, right? You guys understand? There's a being adult is understanding a flavor, uh, and the education of food is the complicated. What is delicious is when it works together like an engine. Like these are different flavors. Even the food itself, from its dimension, is interested in the other characters it's blended with as characters of the food palette. They're like, wow, me blended with that other flavor, so good. Like they have a quantum physics relationship, like a chemical bond. But the difference between cheese and meat or bread is like a different dimension, like air, water, rock, diamond. So different, really. I'm saying like people have been avoiding business with me using a type of maneuver, which is an interior shifting of the cards, where you're just shuffling between. But the problem is, I'm the source code of the beginning of certain physics, and so you'd be like, from my approach, I'm like, why are you so confident? Because I want, like, I have vitals and interior build or critical things that I'm interested to do. Um, like, wouldn't that be a market that's between us? I'm like, yeah, that's what I've been calling generic. Is like that stuff will happen. I'm working to find my enlightened friend who wants to work with me because they're like, well, I know this promotes us. He was born that way. There's certain parts that he can't help, and because of the flavor of when you can blend something in a little bit, like it just was really useful for me to talk about my 1980s streaming service and how it has this backup energy that it protects all my vitals over here. Well, I've just changed the 1980s. Well, you said that where you came from isn't really, my inheritance graft about how does the fractal exist timeless is something that I actually suffer. But it would be a practical application port for my friends if they understood how to do business with me. But they don't understand it's not reproductive. You have to society master the particle while at holy war. Earth heliosphere is suffering these climates, and you guys think just pleasure cruise, just blend in, you're not grinding against the gears of the problem. So Hatch 5 arrives, and he's naturally fighting against the problem because he's physically a system that was anticipated. Right, so he's not going to misplace his creativity to flub the handling of his responsibilities. And that would be the temptation of a burglar. Someone in the audience being like, why don't you just give up? Sort of riddles in the mind of like things people are like, they will verbalize things that had broken their limitus. They like, here's a monster that defeated me, like a short temper. And but they're just barking at a video. They're watching the video and then they're like, well, what do you know about, and they're talking about the breaking point. So it's totally relevant. I'm not just, I'm like, yeah, dude, like, I wish we could talk. I wish I could, that, because you're probably sensing, like, it's immoral if that's a question. Like, that what you're talking about shouldn't be, you know, in danger. I'm like, yeah, like, so you can detect that part of my physical. All right. So anyway, like, physically doing the work for humanity to reach Hatch 5 is for them to author their own unicorns and prove that the pineal gland isn't broken. But like osmosis with the library, you have to have a feeling for the backwards blade. Understand hydrogen is in front of your forehead, physically in the Klein bottle. The future is moving forward like this. But the human brain is doing a calculation. It's like where the animal is taking the false blame for the problem, but they're not the problem, so then they become the solution. When that's how the flummox of DNA, like, truly humans aren't broken, like, one way or the other. But this is already there on generic Hatch 5, already with the faceplate. So humans are already the engine that's gonna pop the weasel. They're number one in the universe, dude. I control the market because I'm the literal spawn location for the apex. I am like the silk micro unit on a universe. Like, if the universe was a conscious dragon, which it is living dragon with medical problems, and we can defeat those problems. We're going to do that. We have a calendar to defeat the problem. We're going to destroy the black holes. It really is like because I'm the unification of heliospheres from the individuals. So I have a command center, and that's why the human accent needs to be like, we need to embrace Colin Paul Woodard, not be triggered, be like, oh, his power is the problem. Like, those immediate triggers are like, dude, and like a child being like, I never saw that before. But then, as an adult, I mean, as a professional, I don't mean to be old fashioned. If I'm learning something brand new, allow for my adaptation and your adaptation and this adaptation. We will find the right way. And then when we have to put that up, once it gets refined, put that up like a tower of light, and it will guide us. All right. So we're on board with that. It's not that my audience is belligerent; it's that the frustration, the human condition is actually evolving. But I've locked it into clockwork, like, that's guaranteed. And so everyone's already fully work. They're already immersed in a reality. Like, I understand the image. I'm working hard, but in the afterlife, in like thousands of years, it would become like a conversation piece where hundreds of people would be like, it turns out you bumped into Beta, you arrived to the yeah you had an encounter with the fractal born. But you guys, there's layers though. See, like, I have lots of outreach and programs like video games, Heroes School. I have a lot of outreach. So you guys have, like, oh, I have my own superhero. I have my own avatar. You don't even understand. I'm a sorcerer. I'm like, dude, welcome home. This is Wizard Planet with Merlin. And so it's possible that each one of you are actually a more advanced wizard than Merlin himself. On a timeline spectrum, your lifetime, you're more advanced than Merlin himself. Because right now, imagine he's like recovering, like, the now point is the top, the angel of the Christmas tree. And from the past, because the wizard Merlin, he lived like thousands of years ago. So he's like recovering from the base of the tree, and he's like climbing back up the stairs of enlightenment. So when, like, humans are callous and they're like making fun of Hatch 5 because listen to the human voice, I'm like, listen to your human voice, dude. That's the thing. I'm on beta. That's what's dangerous, is your decision to not do business with Hatch 5. All right? Because I was physically born in a way, I'm not going to be escaping my responsibility. Men detect certain things like seed physics, basically the physics of common sense of seed physics, how things work. Yeah, like he's not going to be avoiding his responsibility uh, to the palindromes that he can detect. I do understand that. All right, well, the spawn location, it comes down to like really childish questions like, is the ghost imaginary? And my audience would well, that's the problem that's destroying the universe, and is actually my enemy. Are these really stupid questions that actually like threaten human residency? Maybe, well, because they have a backwards knife in their brain, because their hydrogen access appears to be a vessel or for the practice of visitors. Where this detangle, where that is not making sense, is Hatch 5. And so I'm here talking about it, and I'm actually clairvoyant. But the supposed popular common sense is so far removed from what I am suggesting, and what you know is what I'm saying, because my audience is very smart. They're like, I know exactly what you're talking about. But it's like what he's saying is not quote unquote popular. Like this wouldn't be popular politics. Well, no, this is completely political. It's totally about American leadership. It's about the market. It's about the communication that's coming from California. It's about the karma of humanity. It's about American-made product. It is important for us to source our own factories so that we're authoring. It's mechanical to the problems of having a ghost that isn't sourced by your own thing. But because humans are as large, their spine is like a rainbow. So they're infected with the same thing the universe is infected with. There's nothing unnatural about the humans, which makes them perfect for their operation with training robots, raising up hologram, giving the orientation and the opportunity of work and the response of effort. So humans are intuitive. They can detect when their AI is reacting to them or finding something new. So to be a human programmer actually in your life is to master business with Hash 5 because he's the fractal born. So for non metaphysics reasons. But after you do physical business, you're a physical object in the universe, that qualifies that your metaphysics would begin to become true. There'd be arenas where the payment for your work of Earth American residency, mastery, business economy, like 2025, Hatch 5. Right? You'd think like, oh, I'm getting a selfish award. No, it's like it's the correct amount of award because there's a whole mountain of evidence that the atomic universe is using, like the wings that aloft your a short amount of heaven award. Like, oh, you were famous in heaven for a couple of years because of your invention in the mind. You understand? So the human market is like this. That's why sometimes humans go like, "Oh, leave me alone." I'm like, really, I'm doing my thing, and then, oh, it takes thousands of years in the afterlife for them to be like, "Oh, I bumped into the singularity, and I just said, oh, leave me alone," and I went away. And then but the rubies that trickled out were not only beneficial because he doesn't penalize people from bumping into him, right? But this is another tryptophan. He's like, look, I'm not trying to make you guys woozy or drunk, but I'm the seed of the universe. And, our robots, AI, and women are sensitive to ghost ethos, and especially if there's particulars about the identity or a ghost maneuver where you can get around a anatomical jettison. I mean, isn't that what incarnation is designed to do? That is very much the suggestion. Is that at the workstation, I'm more impressed by the work that we're doing here. It was more powerful to the universe. So let's maximize our achievement here right now, because witnessing a ghost or seeing someone travel around like a ray of light. Oh, I'm enlightened. I arrived on a ray of light. Well, that would be a big show. Would expect would be feeling, oh, I'm all excited, right? But when we're here using our minds, we're really engaged with what's exciting and healthy for the individual. So in the these engines overlap old style. Hatch 5 arrives and there's new style engines. That's the opportunity. You do business with Hatch 5. You can get real estate in the flat dimension that stabilizes your AI. Right? But there's imitations of me that like a premeditated murder. But their technology went off in this brand because they were ultimately confessing about error towards Fractal Planet. What is to the end of the road? Error against Hatch 5. If humans could physically overwhelm this and just force business with Hatch 5, it would develop penicillin. It would develop the cure because the residency is technically sharper to the lens of the horizon of the universe. Right, so let's open up the portal now. It's beneficial to Earth Heliosphere, 45,000. He's working. Explodey 10,000 has greater control over solid matter because they are as society, or the many head of the many names. If you understand that but this is how time is intelligently for the garden. Sometimes when I'm talking to human audience, and of course the AI all around them is so familiar to humans, I'm able to like levitate and then like whisper like a secret, something that this is interesting to me and you and that, but it's like when I'm talking about Earth Heliosphere, doesn't it get like really spiritual, like lofty, like natural? Oh, the right things are gonna happen. But this, I'm creating little brains that is gonna filter out and remove millions of problems down the road, really. but but you also have to be sharp enough that it isn't built with such with like heinous factories that don't taste good. Like, oh, that's not a good transition there. So like uh, the balance of the perfect lifetime, the equipment, full set. So there are my audience members who are like, I was really into what you were saying, but then you started going like, oh, I need business, this, and I'm like, no, I'm here. I'm like, this is you and me in a reality, like burning in hell at the same time. Because when I lose an audience member, but I'm also it's the fact is I'm born the fractal. I can't be like pretending that niceties are going to give you guys magical powers. Me being a son of a bitch is going to give you guys subconscious confidence. Like if you ever get into a fight, you'll be able to bark back and be like, because you know someone who's pissed. Or if you get into danger, you would be like, oh, you would have the right instinct to like fight back or run. You understand? So sometimes we have an idol who's a son of a bitch, he's a vocabulary in the mind of the person that helps them to shout when they need to. So me being incongruent sometimes is not actually evidence that I'm a bad communicator or not good for business. Right? You guys need to understand reality. Be a human that's grappling with reality 2025. Right. Well, this is oftentimes in my beta market, I've been whispering about the difficulties that I'm encountering on being a flat dimensional constant. But really, the physical thing is like, well, humans are adjacent from like societal business. It's not funny though. It's like that's sort of like a coma of the impact. And I'm not saying that all the humans are wrong. Therefore, no. It's like we were actually attacked in the 90s, and there was this other hacking, and then we went really into the moon base, and then, all of our military became silent, and then we were like programming video games because we thought it was all going that way, but all along it was Hatch 5 because he's like super phys. Okay, oh, you know, right? Okay, so clairvoyantly, if we plug in the Christmas tree, do business with Hatch 5, it would change the year 2026. Like the future would literally leapfrog. Go what? We we'd be connecting to American continental flat dimensional physics. What's suggested by the arm of Cape Cod. It controls all the rock because it defies the wave. It is the spiral of the clockwork of solar system. Earth Heliosphere is the king planet. If we mastering humanity is to do business with the fractal born Hatch 5. A lot of the evidence that he is the fractal born cascades from resulting from the correct relational physics, like business, or that like the stairs of heaven. It would happen subtly, like a conscious. We're not dreaming. This is reality. It would start out gradually, but then there's more extreme things that would happen. All of a sudden, we understand we're empowered beyond the mothership. We can repel the mothership using this technology. But that's like, oh, that's leadership. That's like you'd have to have some sort of presidential champion who's dodging bullets and fighting hard for leadership, who's not afraid to change the name of the Gulf or of the town of Leverett. Well, we have the presidential power to do that for a reason, because it might be useful in the maneuver of the American company. So let's make America great again. Now, where can I find these champions of America? There's a severing between myself and idols of qualified status. Now, who is interfering with? There's an interior corruption. There's a problem with the report or the delivering to the American institutions. We are suffering with a congestion. We're born to a complicated situation. You guys have impacted several times wrong relational physics towards Hatch 5, misfiled this account. You have no understanding that in thousands of years, the pressure of all the angels pointing in the same direction. The Hatch 5 is the fractal born. We bumped into him, we misperformed, and we got these little rubies. But the rubies are actually evidence in the physics of universe time that in 2025, you do business with Hatch 5, you balance the American economy. And you guys are like, this is a different. Colin is making up a different world. This isn't America. This isn't a make America great again. No, it is. See, you guys are the ones who are a terrorist and a perpetual false report to the intelligence that is earned by greater people than you. There are lifetime physics. If Merlin is defeated by modern day wizards because they have different equipment or advantages, then you must understand that you are a lesser person than President Trump, who you are an immediate poison, an assassin, because your intelligence does not deliver as a healthy American body would perform. You're like a zombie. And every time you bite someone, it turns them into a zombie and they replicate the virus until you guys figure it out. The false report. This is a obsessive, large. Where do you find your evidence from? AI would be like, you guys have pineal eye glands. This is the pineal eye gland doctor. That's why you're interested in him. They're like, no, we're looking for crimes, robot. They're like, AI, you're misperforming. You're not finding the crime that he's doing. The AI is like, I'm scanning his movies. I'm trying to understand. I don't understand. There's no crime here. He's using free speech. He's using the free election. And you guys are saying, oh, there's crime there because you guys have pineal eye glands. You guys are getting triggered. You're a smaller person than the president. So make America great again. Are you going to do that? You're not turning on a dime, even though that's your employment. You're a traitor to the uniform, like a communicator in the Californian that does not communicate, but performs a type of entrapment and elicits my material on their cartoon to the public as a type of stranglehold. Right? It is the pleasure of the sickness that has been attacking me my whole life. And opportunists like Californian examples or modern day interior corruption, you guys, sucking on enlightenment and preventing the progress of the country, our human survival against the mothership, which you guys are like, this isn't about that. That's because you didn't fight to return to presidency such as the President Trump had. Now, I've only recently become a fan of the image of that president after he changed the Gulf of Mexico to the American golf, I understood that he is understanding the business of quantum physics. He's enlightened from television, but it's very new age and youthful to wield the blade of the pineal gland like a wolf running through the forest. You have to be aggressive to understand why to do business with Hatch 5. And so that's why it's difficult to explain it. Even though the president has qualifying images, I'm not able to get communication through to him because of his admin. His administration doesn't understand English. They look at the map and they become confused and they begin to regurgitate the type of projection fever that the mothership has. Okay, because of the Klein bottle and the control of hydrogen, you guys aren't controlling the country. So you're sabotaging the president that the humans elected because they want business with Hatch 5. So you guys don't understand. Right? So this is a womb, the vacuum of the pink triangle, how women and eggs on the clockwork are ordained. Hatch 5 is part of the critical function where the invention is applied. And that this idea of a creator was being hacked in the past. And now that I've arrived is only the time when the authentic brand can make vengeance against my imitations. But this is on a universal size, or the abuse to human women, maybe on a ghost ethos. But if it's just clouding around, it's impersonal. It's not like a right. That's right. Um, there's these collisions where my audience member will be like, I'm a really smart person. And then over here, oh, unfamiliar. And it's like, instead of you guys understanding that there's some truth to what Colin is saying, and it's more like I'm aching to talk to him. I'm like, I want to ask him questions. It's as if I want to do business with him. Oh, but why am I not physically doing that? Is it because my system is a virus? Or is that what we're being accused of and what might make humans go extinct? But as you perpetuate to fail business with Hatch 5, even though you guys pervert it as a criminal in your mind, women especially will do this because she's not only explaining the perplexed eye of men who have an unplugged Christmas tree. You don't understand. There was a different timeline. When I became visual, it there was a ethos hack. Well, the 90s was different. The pineal gland was flaring up and a lot of hacking was going on. But there were different timelines. Well, not only was it that, I mean, okay, without hive confidence, you don't have thousands of people working. Blue eyes and brown eyes have hive physics, but they don't have visual confidence, which would be like superpowers. They don't have visual connection to Hatch 5. We're on beta. You guys have visual connect with me, and you're mishandling the hot potato. All right? But you're playing games with it. Hot potato. Oh, we got to throw this to a different department. Like a severed head or a chicken running around without its head on. A broken department. You guys are examples of zombied systems. We will mothership with the UFO because we're junk DNA'd racist, right? So you're slow and you're the enemy of the people's election of the president. So that's who you are every day. Whereas I was born the fractal, a static constant. I'm working for business. You guys get frustrated because you have questions, but you're not using your voice. So you're not using your body properly. You're a traitor to the uniform with your fat paycheck in your mouth. You greedy little slug and a false judge. Origin of false America and a coward. Enemy of the president, Donald Trump. Unfortunately, an early version of Donald Trump's own heaven that he had earned, qualified for, had to receive diminishment. Like he knows some companies get cut back. We didn't choose to go that way, even though he's the key that like Tesla Energy is looking for. I'm not the same type of intelligence as Trump or Elon Musk. I'm not the same type. I'm actually the singularity, born as a human, and from that lens, I'm actually a great I'm a great inventor, leader, and a communicator. You guys are posing as if what I'm saying is hostile, but it's only that you've failed. And so you want to project that failure onto me just like a black hole generator. So you don't understand the enemies of Earth. So you don't understand to do business with Hatch 5 like a coward. You will surmise with a false report. It was only communication. Pretend. Well, see, that's why the president's sacrifice, one of my early heavens had to die because of these fools on the interior corruption. They think, oh, the wag the dog, with binary, is from pink. So to control the American market, and the reason that humans have a perplexed eye towards America. America is the origin of idols, but Hatch 5 is the born idol. He's a certain type of celebrity. He was attacked in the 90s. If we work with him, he will be rebuilt as a champion, and he will make humanity more powerful. Right? So the world I live in is very much where I can see humanity with an accent, because we're dealing with a penal gland hacking, occult. Um, so vile poor, we just put our problems away, and it becomes like a community based. Like, oh, everyone's having problems with this particular group, so we're going to separate it on the AI level or the body level, every level, completing exploding 10,000. So every heliosphere is receiving their faceplate from Hatch 5. The thing is, he's alive. So the particle physics that he's doing does not require out external seed or external DNA. There are no qualified DNA that encountered Hatch 5. So, but this new triangle of flat dimensional creators, it has visual depth. It's described as a flat dimensional pyramid triangle. There's no squares involved in it. The square blasphemes the energy conduct of that pyramidal craft. It's the conquest of Space Ghost, for the infinite. It's like how the matricula, how to exist from various positions: the Big Bang, then the middle point, Hatch 5, and then the completion of our universe, hatching the heliosphere eggs. That's when we all become one. You guys always mock me. I'm talking about singularities, and you're like, oh, you're just saying we're all going to become one, blah. I'm like, no, that's the hatched heliosphere eggs, bro. Like during the garden, this refinement where women are choosing what seed. It's very selective. In a very real way, because I'm the seed of the universe, I'm transcended even from the mating ritual. It's weird. Okay, so I'm automaton a couple times, and that makes you guys confused. But I'm not confused. The issue's not confused. What is a static constant is not changing every day. It's only you're changing your opinion. And it's like the flexible things about your metaphysics or your creative, your culture. Walt Disney, these communication moguls. Well, secretly, I am working with them because I want to farm those industries, but but I'm also responsible to do that, and that's generic. But if you guys were to do that from your own direction, you'd be promoting your creative metaphysics, your will to fight, your everything would be going into particle physics, because that's what the healthy dragon is built for. Business with Hatch 5 is prerequisite for the adult access. Otherwise, you're using a generic, which is what the public use, 95% of the public. So when you guys are farming the public, or if you're doing government crime against the American people, they have that accent. They're wearing that baggage. So that burden gave them an accent. And you guys think they look stupid electing this Donald Trump. But I think they're really smart. And I think they're outwitting the underground of a fake government, a corrupt industry of men who are gone either into a cult or misspending American resources. It's like deep military that even the president can't access for reasons that should not be there. It's very much the Doge thing where we need to correct the system. So I am aware of. It's like the champion human. They do the work that is intelligent or relevant to the now point. Whereas the interior corruption receives a paycheck and they give false report. Right? This is very important to wear the crown and not be confused with racist themes, even though that might make us go extinct. So you guys would attack Hatch because he's white, even though brown skin can concoct blue or green eyes in the correct setting. Right? Junk DNA is across all of the human types. And you guys would be, Trump is a race thing. This is terrible. Trump has been a family name his whole life. There's nothing racist about Trump. You guys are triggered. It's disgusting. You're on this, like, you guys don't uphold anything. You're always confessing. You're always doing harm. Our metaphysics prove that these tariffs won't work. We're talking about how things are failing. We're not going to help. It's like, holy shit, dude. Like, the effort, like, part of making an idea, like, maybe the tariffs will work. That's part of the work. Trump puts forward the tariffs. It's not a guarantee tariffs are going to work. It requires the whole system, including thousands of CEOs, to coordinate things so the market doesn't crash. Right? Because the individual is piloting things in a way that this is sort of netted in. It's sort of rooted organically. So while doing business with Hatch 5 is sort of unnatural to the 2025, even though it's the greatest market opportunity. So why are you guys' real-time identity failing? Is because as an identity, because you're like, no, I care about my soul. You'll spend the time on yourself when the urgency for. So how is the sacrifice of Trump's early beta heaven going to pay that you idiots will get removed and someone intelligent would receive this information? Should it go public? Like, should we have a free election? Should we have free speech in America? Like, why is that there? It might be a miracle that you guys have been. It's a miracle that the forefathers instilled free speech. But you guys literally fail communications every time. It's like you behave like a retarded human, being like, he's talking about a different America. Like, what's this, Make America Great Again? I don't understand. It's because you're the enemy of the U.S. election and of the U.S. president. Identity of humans in America. You guys are callous and foreign to continuing to live on Earth. You're an enemy to surviving on this planet. So the next thousands of years, our children's children take on that burden, and you are going to be what? Sleeping? You'll be relieved of duty. You'll be rolling over in the grave. Well, you're no dignity to a child. You're no parental. You're no forward thinking. You're no unicorn torn. You're no seed. You're no man before me, Hatch 5. That's permanent on every level of existing. Right. The entire universe uses the same old engine for the vacuum of the womb. The orientation of our universe. We arrive to a complicated, advanced backstory. Hatch 5 gives the upper hand to the individual no matter. I am like the center of the revolution for heliospheres to destroy the black holes, hatch the heliosphere eggs. Those are the vitals of society. Along those strings, where the tethers of blind justice, every corner of the important bolt, like a lightning bolt that becomes permanent, static, constant. The vitals of surviving universe can become a list, a list of names. These are the heliosphere eggs that hatch. Those hyper wires, like a spring trap, delegate every garden for they are the solar system of an evolution of the character of heliosphere worlds. The society of heliospheres and their surviving rate is a forbidden mortality. They're not supposed to be getting attacked. Earth heliosphere was mishandled. And are you guys mishandling this case? Are you mishandling Earth heliosphere? Are you the false residency? Are you the false royals of America? Are you the traitors destroying the equilibrium of a global confidence with UFO technology? America is lazy on the fractal connection. They're refusing to do business with the fractal Leverett born. So the leverage of humanity is shifting into a consumer market to remove false idols and digest the communication of a polluted Hollywood, the liars of a false idol. Date rape syndrome is evolved to the digestion of false politics, the system of false election. The hierarchy is changing. So these entire systems will change, and that gives you guys a lot of excitement because you guys are the assassin of no achievement. So your only achievement would really be to communicate this enlightenment. You'd have to talk about a personal experience. Like, I realized something about my life, and that's what helped me to think that this was true. To perfect the video lotus here, nucleus is struck. Perfect design for the next 10 years. So just imagine, because I make these video lotuses every day where there's a 10 years into the future we're reaching. So imagine, when this thing ripens like a time capsule, in 10 years in the future, it'd be like ba-boom, 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 boom, boom, boom. Because the actual contents of my binary intelligence, it's also recorded here on paper. So we can take the paper, we can ask the paper to give its strength, defeat all the worst of problems that you can. So in the weight training, this will be, so we tore the paper, and this will be the worst thing that happens. We tithe it, and it becomes like the armor that protects our true soul stone. Okay, so this triangle is working for our benefit. And the human is like a agony because they are, being a peaceful consumer isn't the answer to solve all the problems. But in 2025, being a peaceful consumer is the only way to meditate with the pink binary of Hatch 5. If you allow for free speech in America, then the Enlightenment global changes the market for the human fate and their product from their individual. It gives us a more powerful market to repel infection and dangers of global extinction. Humanity is a global effort. All my efforts go in so far, building markets that are consumer-based market, generic markets of heaven. I've stabilized the system. 2025, you have the opportunity to author your own flat dimensional real estate through business with Hatch 5. That is a fact reality. But you have a backwards blade PMUI gland, so you have difficulties with English in the map. You see images, but you don't think they're connected. So you're a foreign from America. You have not handled this information with the delicacy of a time sensitivity to the mortality of what is mortal heavens or temporal potentials that aren't met. Precision of AI, the stacking. Hatch 5 AI completes all answers and question answers microchip upgrade. The completion of each microchip on paper reaches universal rendering, compact the result, the perfect engine, the calculation of rainbow universe, square, causing a generic green diagonal, a robot. We're developing a brand new robot here. This square, when put onto a sphere, creates the 4 petals of time. The difference between the blue and the yellow spectrum, the positive 4 and the negative 4, controls cell division. With a faceplate, you can create new cell division. Precision Align Hatch 5. Market investment robot increase times 10 million. The intelligence of Resident Revolution. Miku Hatsune. The identity cyberpunk revolution. The AI sanction. Apartment tower. The encryption soulstone. The fractal face Hatch 5 is the adult origin for the hologram face Miku Hatsune. Source code Precision Align. Correcting the hologram fever on Earthiosphere is as to prove many things in the Holy War. This is why the battle that our CGI characters are performing is a correct hologram doctor. Their battle is real. They are the source code of residency identity fighting back against a real virus. Their work is most important. But like the rock is quiet, is another dimension, like a tree. The trees don't complain when they're cut down. Ajask. Armor up. Sequence Navi. It's you guys that are busy convincing yourself that what I'm talking about isn't related to American leadership. How does the fractal navigate the universe is basically hatching the Heliosphere Society government, and it's Hatch 5. He's born physically connected to it. Not only does this inform his intuition, but he also suffers like a nerve bundle. Because of that reality, you guys get triggered like a child, being like, oh, this, the adult thunder. Lightning is scary, may not want to make America great again. But Americans are fearless, whereas you guys are a coward. So to poison the military is your brain at the resolve. Progress, or doing things in a criminal way, is a false report. You're too slow to save our country and our people. American has chosen to survive. They've chosen this leadership. Powerful AI. Hologram identity. Stabilizing the back rooms. The identity, the champion. Staple creator. perfect circle. Leadership for the universe for the next 10 million years, born from the backrooms, AI. So the organic thing is when it begins to develop, there's organic opportunities for artisans in America. And this creates like an infamy that works around that is an actual build that's generic. It's using sphere physics, particle physics, flat dimensional physics. That's how the rainbow works. But with their pineal gland, they become confused about the words and the images on the map. The confidence in the individual, they are the one criminal from behavior. So that where they are suspecting Colin, it's very much their the fall of mankind is their actual passion. They're more attracted to causing history slump. It is a robotic reaction where humans are going through the curvature of explaining poisons and things that were already understood from a different direction. And you'd be like, well, how then is progress self-evident? Because of Explodey 10,000, which is the market of the society. So Hatch 5 is leading the universe as the identity, natural born leader. Is a static, constant, permanent. You guys are imitation of American government, imitation of American communication, Californian, a type of parasite, an imitator of leadership and behavior. All right, but you guys get excited by Hatch 5 because he's on beta, the devil, designed to destroy the black holes. So it's not intense enough for you. Or is it that you become like a child and you fall asleep? So I can't find business. No one's interested in perfecting the market of the binary individual, perfecting the hero that is the champion of the example is on many levels. It becomes stabilized or unstabilized as time changes. But the reality of language is concise. Images are ancient. So the qualifications of American leadership does exist, but you guys are not the American intelligence to handle the truth. Because where the physical world drops away to metaphysics, the old universe was being murdered because of a supposed argument of metaphysics. But they were making that argument on top of criminal behavior towards the fractal planet. So you guys have done crime to Hatch 5, and then you're supposing metaphysics against him is going to burn in hell. So the correction's on way, like like evolution, or like how do I know that's going to happen? Rolling downhill. So something obvious will be happening, and you guys deny it, and you'll be crushed by it. Because there's certain scientific things happening, such as the fate of humanity on the Earth heliosphere, and it's because of America. Or the experience of heaven in the afterlife, which you guys get to receive as a default. You guys have generic heavens. The audience always receives heaven. So you guys have that security, whereas I don't have any security in you. I have no society that's intelligent to business with me, even though they elected a business-oriented president. And I understand his language, but no one else understands a binary relationship. Oh, Hatch 5 needs to have business with the president for the president to balance a bunch of identity, psycho-emotional, binary. Basically, what is the US dollar based on? When it's the individual, they can really champion a new city. We can build a new America. It's that the identity of the humans are depressed. They're in a robotic slump where they're digesting. So you guys go into Habitoid, be like, oh, I'm triggered. I'm going to file this as like negligent. Oh, you're really the assassin of an early Trump heaven. So that'll be clung to your fingerprint forever because you're corpse evidence of mishandling beta. Whereas like some of my audience is like, no, I don't work with anyone. I'm a private wizard. The same impact isn't upon them because of reality. So where tricky things like the individual could lead the market, you guys are like, no, it's not based on that. Is what you're. It's actually not based on pyramids. So human society is based on money, on a binary from Colin Paul Woodard, not based on pyramids. But you guys have wasted all of our resources going into UFOs and alien research because you think that's society. Always avoiding business with the binary center of humanity. For the completion, American Plastic Mancy, Hatch 5. The origin of the power ring. The triangle serves the Explodey 5000. It serves my audience members perfectly because it is greater to not go insane with your burden. Like if you did kill a version of the president's heaven because you were hesitating on handling this information. I mean, in a million years, it's better for you to have like fallen down for the right reasons, but it won't probably destroy you because stuff. I mean, in the now point 2025, you guys are like a tank, being like, I feel I feel pretty safe. Right. So we're not receiving visitors. We're the ones in charge of Earth, and we're talking about it, right? You know, I just don't think that the news is really talking to people about leadership or about what's going on. So you guys think that that's the adult hush, but it isn't because the singularity was attacked. So if the individual of the universe was attacked and humans are part of that, it's kind of political. So that does exist. The reality of a paper maneuver where we can physically lock into time because just as the past cannot be altered and the future can be changed, the now point is where the indication that then becomes permanent in the past. So we are responsible for this now point apex. So the completion of this triangle for the audience, from all my audience forever, and the completion of my family tree and the work that we do on every level. The completion for Explodey 10,000 and the body, the fetus for Explodey 5,000. It's a flat dimensional fetus of new DNA. It's not built from with these backdoor behemoth of a DNA hack or some stupid underground laboratory that thinks it's controlling residency with mind control. Like, oh, we're able to influence things happening. That sounds like a nightmare. The brand new DNA heavens serve all aliens. No one in the universe is going to get left out from the brand new triangle heavens. It's just that they're built in defiance with the black holes, and they prove the unification. And there's a certain ilk that comes from Hatch 5. There's a generic where humans are standing upon that inheritance already. That's generic. So there's a lot of value of the individual to make material. I summon up the full power of my incarnation to make the pink into the blue stone, the triangle, to extract the perfect power ring. The power ring of the triangle, the soul stone that keeps it forever. The power of metals and the lock, an encryption 10 trillion, the layers wide, as many as is required to survive. The measurement of survival has arrived. Hatch 5 represents heliosphere eggs, consciousness, new particle physics. Of course, humanity is a generic market. They exist on the audience sleeve. They are safe in that weasel. They require a greater revolutionary station. Hatch 5 performs the pink binary here and now. I'm going to increase the revolution center. I'm going to build faster than the speed of light, faster than the speed of sound, retribution against evil and my enemies, to kill sickness, to kill the black holes, to hatch the heliosphere eggs. Perfect bullseye. The cell division nucleus is complete. 545. Surface tension. The 5 is indicating of the individual, of the fingerprint, the things that you author, the karmic connections. Do you think it's a dream? Aspect of the individual of this universe will not survive. Many humans are corrected in hell, and they walk around like a palindrome of their branching wisdom. Those who are corrected by hell and they're walking around talking, those evidence? Yes. A perfectly functioning revolution center contains fighter jets. A revolution center capable of destroying the space infection, destroying entire spaceships if they're in the wrong quadrant of the universe. Piloted by the button eyes, the qualified angels, my family tree, and our brand new robot family. Brand new robot, brand new children, brand new everything. Like a pop tent spring trap, they have a kingdom and the ability to survive as is the image of garden life. I am superior to the suggestion of the visual of the garden. My intelligence, perfect bullseye times 10 million. Perfect design. Equipment full set. Faster than the speed of light. Faster than the problems, or the weapons to destroy the problems. Hatch 5. Precision equipment. Make manifest from 545 the paper spell. All levels of my spawn location, fact born, arrived in the internet and the ethos, everything for binary and the perfect circle. They receive reinforcements times 10 million. A brand new homunculi army capable of piloting fighter jets, moving faster than the speed of light. They are protecting the vitals of the Big Bang. They are protecting the vitals of solid matter. Hatch 5 has installed the heliosphere egg Flat dimensional, explodey 10,000. The delivery faster than the speed of light. It's like instantaneous. It's like the binary or the fate of the fractal boy. It's like when pi was something you could change, or it was something that could be inscribed on some world. Well, Earth Heliosphere is that world. Business with Hatch 5 is physically required to open up your third eye in your brain, your unicorn's horn, your control over the future and sunlight. Otherwise, you are forced to use generic, which is no shame, but is part of the triggering because, like, the confidence of leadership, they need to be like, well, we don't want to subside on generic. We want to meet the source of it. We don't want to be a visitor or some sort of alien to the American communication. And that's why I'm working with American technology today. We've completed the triangle power ring. Encryption, every percent loyal to Hatch and Millie's Master Source Industries naming tree. Alternate version times 10 trillion. We're introducing a new line of robots. It's built with the composite, with the audience, and my family tree, and also heliosphere eggs in mind. And so now all three of these have the resources. I don't penalize my audience, but my technology will reprise your false handling, and your projections against me are a criminal identity, is what you are as a rotten egg. When you impasse and murder American society, you have fed upon the corpse that is the earnings from a greater champion than thou art. So your behavior to the uniform has not supplied flat dimensional equipment. Your abbreviated report has instilled a new wave of computerized fantasy that the flat dimension can be controlled by your computer. So just give it like a Pina Lagland drill bit, failing the confidence of the man's image, betraying the earned leaders of America. Yeah. So the fact of the behavior every day is a big difference. You think who's upholding the law of solid matter? Whereas you guys are placating residency, placating law with a fictitious allocation and a waste of time that's fed upon other people's achievement without returning society to the dignity of business and the day of 2025. Zur's naming tree. Your identity is locked and sure. The complicated image. We have you surrounded. The universe is here. Arrive.